Hello and welcome to the Next 100 Days podcast. My name is Graham Arrowsmith.
And my name's Kevin Appleby. So, Graham, I understand you've been off networking and meeting people.
Well, kind of, yeah. I'm oddly enough, this might feature in our next podcast because we're going to talk about AI. But I met this very young lady in this AI kind of group, which is based on a guy called Flint McGlaughlin, who I've followed for, I don't know, years. And anyway, the thing about it, she happens to be like in the Hall of Fame when it comes to beauty. And you'll be able, if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll already be able to tell. But this is, and we'd like to welcome Elle Wilson to the Next 100 Days podcast.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. What a beautiful introduction. That's lovely. Yes, the Hall of Fame.
Well, you are. You are. I mean, first of all, you're Australian, and
Yes.
you kind of you were brought up in Geelong, which I've had a look at on Google and all that, and what a place. I mean, it looks fantastic. I mean, is that your recollection of it?
Well, it's quite lovely. I mean, for us, there was the bay, and then there was the town, but it's much smaller when I was there. And I left there when I was around 30 and went to Melbourne, which is an hour away. But I did travel back and forth a lot. So my parents were there. And it was a sweet little town. That's where I opened up my first business, actually, in Geelong when I was 21 years old.
Yes.
And there you go. That's the beginning of it all.
Were you into this? Are they called the Wildcats or something?
No, I wasn't really. I mean, I used to get invited to a lot of the VIP thing, games and things. But I really
they always want good-looking people around them, don't they? These squads. But we won't.
Is that what was going on? I had no idea.
Yeah, no. But
Graham, what's the tactic here? You've got Elle from the beauty industry in, and we all know that you've got a face for radio. Are you trying to do something about it?
Well, it is true. I was once accused of looking like Paul Newman in my youth, but nobody will remember that. So, and I had hair and thinner. So, but no glasses. Seriously though, I think from the beauty of Elle is that you are an entrepreneur. You're a beauty entrepreneur. You've had several businesses, and you still have businesses in that beauty industry. Tell us a little bit what got you into that in the first place.
I have no idea. It was one of those things, it's like divine intervention or something. I actually was studying to do law, really. That was my trajectory, and life just did its own thing. And one day my sister said to me, why don't you just go and do beauty? And it used to hurt me to just even pluck my eyebrows. And I used to think, this is just awful, because I used to copy all my sisters, because we were a family of 8. And I had 4 sisters, older sisters, and I'd see them doing all these things, and I'd try and copy them, and I'd be pulling, and I think, this is the most horrible thing, And so for me, it was really quite. I was moving in a way which I learned to move in that particular way, actually, and have for my whole life, in a way where I really just followed something in me, and if there was a yes inside of me, if my entire body, just said yes. And the quality of the yes is what's really important. And that's what I've been teaching women for so many years. We have to really start to really delve into the quality, our inner quality, and then we can begin to trust something. So for me, my whole life really is about that. And that's how I got into the beauty industry. But I also went heavily into mentoring, and that's really where I've landed now. But previously with beauty, not a choice that it felt to me was something I thought about, and I thought, yes, I'm definitely going to do that. It was presented, and I just moved.
Got you. I mean, it's a bit like you, Kevin, in a way, isn't it? I mean, you were presented with lots of figures, and you thought, "Yep, I'll be an accountant." Is it what happened to you, Kevin? Why did you become an accountant?
I don't know. I can't really remember, Graham. It just seemed a natural. I wanted to be involved in business, and it seemed a natural thing to do, to have a finance background.
Yeah.
But, I do kind of get what Elle's talking about. How much of your career or what you're doing at the moment could you have planned in advance, because a lot of it is down to those conversations, those opportunities that just seem to arrive without ever having planned them, intended to have them, and they open doors.
Mm. I agree. I think for me too, one of the key things is that it's not so much what we're doing, but as we're doing what we're doing, is what are we discovering? You know, what are we doing? For me, I discovered that I had this deep responsibility in me for other human beings. It became something. It was very heart-opening for me, the beauty industry, because I started to realize that at a very young, tender age, and I came from a Greek family, as you know, I'm in Greece right now, and I was very sheltered, had a very sheltered childhood and a very strong father figure who, you know, was very protective. So I sort of stepped out into this world, and all of a sudden all these women were trusting me and handing over their wellness, not only their beauty, but really in some way their wellness, because there's so many things you have to navigate through in the beauty industry. Not everything is good for you. And so I was amazed. I remember the first time a woman handed me like something like $400 or way back then to purchase all this skincare for me. And I'm thinking, wow. Yeah. But I really, it just fell into me really deeply. It wasn't just a surface thing. Oh, this is great. It was like, oh, she really has entrusted something of her to me. And that was the beginning of me learning how to move.
The word beauty, I haven't looked it up, but the word beauty, I don't know what its derivation is, but it's is it something that we feel ourselves, but we don't want to say? I don't want to say I'm beautiful, but but I feel that I am, or is it a sort of inner and outer thing? I mean, what is beauty? I'm trying to understand it a little bit.
I think, especially in the world right now, when women have been given so many alternative ways of trying to prevent the inevitable, which is aging.
Yeah.
That's happening.
It's not happened to me. It's not happened to me, Elle. I don't know what you're on about.
Let's just be clear about that.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost like a woman is going to take some time to really take a look at what you were just saying. We're sharing, Graham. It's so beautiful. It's like, what is the quality of beauty? You know, to me, it's like harmony. It's like if you find that internal harmony, if you find that resting place within, it radiates through you. You know, you can do all these kinds of things to your face, and you can try and stop aging. Even young girls are doing it now. You know, incredible things, unnecessary things, really, in my mind. But not that I'm going to be judgy or anything. But just to me, I just look at people and I'm looking deeper into them. So beauty for me really is where something internal is radiating outwardly, and influencing, touching the environment. And you can see it in a woman, in anyone. If you go into the mirror and you look at someone that's really holding on really tight and is really shut down and closed down, you can see it in their eyes.
Yeah.
And then a woman goes and all of a sudden her husband's given her a hug, has given her a kiss, and she's all warm and fuzzy inside. She looks in the mirror and her eyes, she's just open. That to me is beauty. Because it's not like it comes from the inside. It's a quality of opening. You know, it's a little bit like a flower. You're either open or you're closed. When you're open, I mean, you know, there you are. You there you actually are. You know, it's like a presence.
If somebody's just tuned in, didn't know anything about you, and just listened to that last minute, you've encapsulated the essence of beauty. You've encapsulated what it means to be sort of beauty inside, a beautiful inside as well as outside. And now people talk about that, but there is a harmony going on there, and the way in which you impact other people. It's Kevin and I. We're beautiful together up to a point, Kevin.
There's something there, Graham, to have done this many podcasts together.
I just want to say this. You two are adorable, really. Let's just be honest. Like, I feel just honoured to be here and so blessed. How lovely.
She thinks we're Yorkshire Terriers, Kevin. I mean, what's going on? I mean, you're a pair of dogs.
Woof.
Yeah. Oh, no. But honestly, The one question I have about one of the businesses you've been involved with, this is called True Brow.
Yes.
I don't get it. I mean, I've tried to watch a little bit of the video that you had on the
Yes.
front end of that website. But True Brow, a lot of ladies will understand if you talk about brows, they'll be hooked into this. What's the fascination and what's the desire of people to change or somewhat alter their brows? And has there been a sort of historic thing that you pluck the hell out of it and you're left with nothing, and then all of a sudden, sometimes I've seen that and it looks horrible. And for me,
Yes.
I just wonder what is it that got you into brows, and how
Mm.
can you help people, shall we say, radiate more because of your intervention with brows?
Well, here we go again, right? How did I get into brows? Every beauty professional works with the brow, but we have a
Okay.
very limited two-dimensional kind of education around it. It's very, very simplified. It's about length, width, and you hope you don't, do anything terrible. Then come the trends. So then, you have a look at the way women are influenced around beauty. And this comes down to the woman, right? Should we be influenced by what we see on the cover of a magazine? And now have a look at the influence that's happening all around the world with even for young children inside of Snapchat and all of the other social platforms that they have and apps and things like that. I was talking about that with the mum yesterday, who was just so deeply concerned about that. But
Mm.
when you allow a trend like a celebrity or some creative makeup artist and photo shoot to actually alter the way you work with your own face, well, you're not, you really need to take a look at that. It's kind of like saying, well, just take a look at that, because the brow is extremely powerful.
Yeah.
And so True Brow really is about using world-class design principles. I didn't ask for True Brow to start working with this system. It was almost like, again, here we go with that word, divine intervention. It just keeps happening to me, doesn't it? It was exactly like that. So one day, I remember I sat in front of this very beautiful girl, and she was a client, first-time client of mine, and I hadn't touched a brow for 7 years because I was doing counselling, mentoring, and working with young women with anorexia, bulimia, their parents, and just other challenges. And I thought, I went back into the beauty industry. I never thought I would. And there I found myself staring at this gorgeous girl, and she wanted me to shape her brow. She had really thick brows. And at that stage in my life, I was very deeply impacted by the quiet within me. I was very impacted by that. And I spent many hours a day just very quiet, very still. And I remember looking at her and thinking to myself, I don't know how to make this brow beautiful. And I was so okay with not knowing. And I think this is a key thing for any entrepreneur, any human on the planet actually. When there's a difficulty, it's so okay to just relax into not knowing, because that opens up these incredible, it unlocks codes inside of us, because we have access to so much. We have so many resources internally. And I think it unlocked something in me. And there I just walked up to her. I picked up my tweezers and I was listening, deeply listening and working. I did that for 11 years. It was the most astonishing process, really. I created some of the most beautiful brow work in the world with the natural brow. And I was kind of in awe every time I did it. It wasn't an egoic thing, because you can't work egoically with that kind of process. It was just like, oh wow, oh all right, okay, just kept going. My price points went up. I built an extraordinary business, and I really started to niche into that. My business became so much about that. It was an amazing lead gen, like for women, brides, everyone was coming. I appeared on a couple of forums here and there. And 11 years later, Toby and I were together by that stage, Toby, my husband and business partner. And I just knew that I had to put all of that 11 years of creative process into a manual. And when I recognized that, I thought, wow, that's just okay. So I did it, and then we began to train.
I wish we could see her face, but basically, this girl's eyebrows are sort of like the before, and then after this sort of revelation,
Yes.
how you describe it, but you got to work on it. You allowed yourself time to digest the situation. I mean, I'd have probably looked at her and said, "You're perfect anyway, love. Off you go."
Yeah.
You did. I mean, she wanted you to use your skill. You
Yes.
did. What, if you just, without getting into the weeds, so to speak, what is it that you did to make the brows as were better than they were?
What a beautiful question. I think that the brow is, for a woman on her face, it's to enhance her beauty. It's to open her face. Again, we're speaking about the same words, aren't we? We spoke about openness before.
Yeah.
And so world-class design principles that came to me to work on how to work with the brow, using them. A little bit like Coco Chanel did with the little black dress. She just changed fashion forever.
Yeah.
It's very similar, because you're using world-class design principles that were really, I was listening and I was starting to use them. They became a part of me, really. That's why I could put them into a manual and teach them, and I've been teaching them for so many years. It's really about opening the face. A lot of what beauty professionals do with the training that they have that's outside of the true brow system is that they shut the face down, or they make a woman look angry, or they make her look hard. And you might have this really soft, lovely woman, and all of a sudden her eyebrows scare you. You look at her and you kind of think, oh my gosh. And this is happening more and more. I don't know if you've noticed that, and you look at someone's brows and it's a really scary situation. It's like, what's happened? Whereas harmony on a woman's face opens her. And again, it's the same thing. It's like, how do we soften? How do we open? How do we repair and heal? Because now there's so much damage being done to brows because there's all these new trends that are coming through. And women are not really thinking. They're really just being misled by a lot of very serious, very excellent marketing, I just want to add, but not always honest. And we know we're confronted like that when we have anything inside of us anything authentic in us. Marketing is always confronting when we're seeing what the world does with it. So I guess that's why we follow Flint, really.
Yeah, we do. The thought came into my mind, and probably people might think of me as being a bit prehistoric, which I don't care. At the end of the day, if you were to do some of these things with her eyebrow, this girl, that would have made her look angry, it would be the equivalent, in my eyes, of saying, "Oh, by the way, love, before you go, here's a nose ring." And there's something that I think those things. I mean, I just think they're gross, and I think that I love beautiful women. I really do. I can't help that. I'm a bloke. But at the end of the day, I've got one at home as well, but that's a good story. Just in case she's listening, which she rarely does. But basically, seriously though, I just find when girls in particular do things to their face that takes away in other people's eyes beauty, what on earth are they doing that? Because all the things that you talked about earlier, they're not almost following through on, are they? They're sort of this idea of a beauty inside and outside. But if they're rotten out inside, then you can understand.
That's right. It's a core principle, isn't it? And and you're following through on that all the way through. So everyone, I do get what you're saying when you're speaking about not only young girls, but even older, more mature women. I should say older, even though I'm old. But hey,
you're young compared to Kevin and
I'm going to be 60 years old this year, and I cannot believe it. Isn't that marvelous?
That is marvelous. Well, nobody's going to believe this.
Everybody's going to believe that we've been using Photoshop or something on the phone.
She has got a filter on at home. It's sort of 10 years old.
Just very, very good lighting. Let me tell you, lighting is absolutely everything.
It is true. It is true. Kevin and I should know a bit about that.
Lighting is important. Lighting is important. But I think that if you always have to go down to the core principles in things, really, and everyone has to have their journey. One of the things that I had to really let go of is my way is the right way.
Yeah.
Because how does someone actually arrive? Beauty to me, I feel like I understand what beauty is, but for me, it's such an, like we were discussing before, it's such an internal thing. It's, for example, a woman is beautiful when her husband says something to her that actually just touches something in her that really affects her, and yet she can just, despite that, she just opens. And she just looks at him and smiles, and then that's beauty. Right? That woman is going to behave differently to her, with her face, with the choices that she's making in all areas of her life.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to fix my lighting now because the sun in Greece has just decided that it's going to come and pour through the window. Let's just do that. Make it a little.
Wow.
That was clever.
That was clever.
Even more.
You look 5 years younger. I mean, no, I don't.
There's got to be some AI done that.
That is
no AI.
No AI. I have got an AI camera on another Mac in the house, and I really ought to bring it in here because it's really quite cute. It does all kinds of things. Anyway, by and by.
So I think that, one of the things I had to let go of was that people, we all have this choice inside of ourselves. And for me, like, I had a daughter who went through all those phases, coming home with the nose ring and wanting to get a tattoo. And, it was like, I was heartbroken. Honestly, I was, because for me, I was seeing her so pure, so innocent, so beautiful, and she wanted to do all these things to herself. And, and I think it really, and now she's like completely the opposite. So sometimes it just takes time for a human being to actually, to be on that journey. And some people get it and some don't, and it's kind of okay, isn't it, really?
Yeah, I think you have to accept other people for what they want to do to themselves, but at the end of the day, it's the modern way, isn't it, that you can't judge anybody. Well, sod that. I mean, we're on a podcast, it's our podcast. If they want to come and take us down, then do so. But at the end of the day, I think I was kind of brought up to, I just love beautiful women. I just can't help that. And and sometimes you see people with tattoos and pretty close to their face, and you think, why have you done that to yourself? And there's this thing at the moment where they have we call it a sleeve.
Yes.
But what's that going to look like when you're in the retirement home? I mean, are you going to be comparing sleeves and singing Oasis songs? I mean, get over yourself.
It's hilarious. I love what you're saying, because this is you just expressing yourself and saying you're beautiful just the way you are. Which there's truth in that, and yet it's an interesting thing, isn't it? Because for me, I'm a purist. Biggest problem, being an entrepreneurial purist. So how difficult is that? It's almost an impossibility, right? But anyway, so the thing is, I'm always suggesting to women, I just speak to them the way I speak to you. That's my truth. That's how I communicate. But I'm in the midst of an industry that will do everything to change reality that it possibly can. Whether it's fillers, whether it's Botox, whether it's something new to, for women to, it's like so exploitable, this industry, because there are so many pain points when we're not resolved. And the resolution has to happen within. It doesn't start from without.
No, well, I've had to talk Kevin down from the Botox ledge a few times, but anyway,
coming back to the tattoos and the sleeve, it's kind of, I do hear what you're saying. Where you're saying we live in a world where we don't want to be judgy, but we do judge. We judge all the time. We don't have to be judgmental.
Yeah.
That's different to me. I can have preferences. I have lots of preferences. I don't have a tattoo because I don't feel it necessary to do that to myself, but I have a lot of friends that have them. Yeah. So I might have a preference, but I sort of, in some way, I don't take myself down the road of trying to work that out, because there is no end to it. It's kind of like it's just being in a place of allowance. And if you think of what allowance is, it's openness again. So we just keep coming back to that same word of just being open. And I love the word allowance, because I think allowance is really you're in reality. You are, and you're an allowance of it. And that's where clarity comes. That's where the most beautiful qualities human beings can aspire to hear, to experience, come from that space, from that phase, really. I call it, because I have created these 4, phases of transformation, and allowance is the 4th phase, which is really that beautiful place.
I love that, because one of the things that we mentioned Flint McGlaughlin, and one of the things he talks about is clarity trumps persuasion. Now, he says that in a marketing context, but actually the words stand on them by themselves almost. And if you're seeking clarity in anything that you're doing, then you're almost weighing that thing against persuasion.
Yes.
And there's something that might go through your mind that says, I need to persuade. Well, who do you persuade? You don't persuade yourself. Or maybe you persuade yourself.
Yes, all the time we do that internally, don't we?
But you're probably trying to persuade, like the sort of salesy type thing, others.
Yes.
And if you're doing things to yourself to persuade others, then in my head, you've missed the clarity bit. The clarity is that actually you start beautiful. There's no, and it's up to you. Don't go too salesy with yourself, because you're gonna look jagged. And it's almost like you've got these lovely flowing aspects to your life, but you're making yourself, I don't know, jagged.
I think sometimes in the way that we live in the world, we're a bit topsy-turvy. It's sort of outside in instead of inside out. And is there an inside and outside? Let's not get too philosophical, but at the end of the day, it's like it's being, and Flynn talks about that in his marketing all the time. It's about being a philosopher, looking within, critical thinking, all of those things. But these are life principles. And I think when you work with people for so many years, which as an entrepreneur, it's a world of people, isn't it? It's a sea of people that we start to we can either close and shut ourselves down and get much, much, much more closed because of experiences that have happened to us that we haven't liked, or we can really open it. Oh, here comes this word. What is going on in this podcast? I can't stop saying this word. But, it's opening.
Kevin will edit it out, don't worry.
I think it's the 2 of you. You've done something. This is all about you. You open to human beings. And I think you become a better, human being to do that, but you also become a better marketer. You become a more authentic marketer. And it's natural to us to be good. It's not natural to us to be bad. It's natural for human beings to be good. So
is this the message that you give to help empower women?
Well, I think women are the most powerful creatures on this planet. Sorry, I have to say. And I think that a woman that absolutely knows her true quality is an absolute diamond for a man. Like men, it's almost like men are waiting for women to get it. And I think the more women actually rise up into their deepest qualities, it's just what a miraculous, a miraculous thing to happen to a woman, because then she's in receiving mode. She becomes the anchor for the masculine, for the men in her life, whether they're her sons, whether it's her husband. Everything shifts and changes. The influence of a woman in this world, and women haven't really gotten to the stage yet where they're falling into that in a way, but I think the time is really coming, to be honest. And it is like that. It's like there's many things. Like I don't actually have a particular way. For me, everything is very in the moment. It's very spontaneous. Like, for example, I had no idea what I was going to speak to you about today. But I didn't need to know, because I'm just here, just being with you.
You.
and it's just lovely. But with women, I do. So I'm with them. If I'm mentoring and I'm with a woman, I'm with her 100% in that moment. And I think that the impact happens when you really can just let go and just be with another human being and identify immediately what it is right there and then that they're needing in that moment. And you have to let go of knowing, you just don't know
So,
until that.
isn't that what we've done here?
Yes.
We've allowed you to be you, and you've told us things that you might not have told us, or you've shared things that you might not have gone into had we talked about, beauty, the beauty industry, and your beauty business compared to another. I mean, there's lots of things that we could have gone down and probably should, but at the end of the day, your essence is more than just being a beauty entrepreneur. It's also and Hall of Famer. You were a Australian Beauty Industry Awards Hall of Famer. Now, you don't get one of those in every crisp packet. I mean, at the end of the day, you're quite special. So the quite special needs. I mean, no, you shouldn't say so. But no, but
Graham, you're digging yourself into a hole
no,
here.
no, but I mean, you're an expert in leadership and in innovation. But the way in which you said that you connected to women in the mentoring role is almost like you almost have to get centered in a way. You almost have to release yourself of all the other. That's why we don't have a script. We release ourselves from being tied to something and see what happens.
Yes, it's like stepping into the mystery of things rather than structuring everything, and everything has to be, and yet there's a place for that. There's an absolute place for that. We all know that, business is about strategy and planning and all those things. But I think with mentoring, for me, it's just a little bit different. And I think that the best things come out of me. I'm able to deliver the best of me when I'm able to just surrender and not be thinking that of an outcome, and the outcomes normally, they're pretty good. So
you do care for people, don't you? That's one of the things. One of yours. I've noticed this in the seminars that we've been involved in, and I just notice your comments quite a bit, and you care for other people.
Yes, I think that that's a key thing. I think if we go back to the core reason why we're in business or even just in our lives, I think, yes, I do. I love human beings. I see the potential in human beings. I actually see the potential even when they don't. And I have this, I used to think once upon a time it was a bit of a curse, but I see it as a blessing, but I can see patterns very easily. So I can sit with people and I'm just fully aware of their patterns. And in that way, I have access to something that you never want to exploit that. You want to be sure that you're taking care of the other human being, and you can't take care of yourself if you don't take care of others. In the same way that I care for me, I'm going to care for others. It just is like that. So yes, I mean, I love human beings. I just think they're incredible. And I think that they haven't even begun to understand what they are and what they can be here on this planet, really, to be honest.
Whatever you do, don't start patterning Kevin Appleby, because we haven't got enough time.
I was trying. I was there, but I thought, no, I won't.
No, don't go there, whatever you do.
Elle, how did you get into mentoring in the first place?
Again,
quite a switch from what you were doing in beauty.
Well, again, the words, divine intervention. I was 32 and my life crashed. I was a single mother. I had just put together my first skincare line. So I had 7,500 units in my office lined up. And I was thinking I was going to be the next skin queen. And all of a sudden, couldn't do anything. It was as if everything I tried to do was just blocked. And I ended up speaking to a business consultant who I then later found out used to go in and help CEOs. He was a bit of a shaman. So he used to just go in and he would help them on many different levels. And he actually stayed with me. Like he came and visited me for 30 days, 3 months, every single day. And the first time he met me, he said, I'm going to help you. He said, my fee is, I don't know, it was $500 an hour or something. And he said, but I'm going to do it for free. And he said, I'll send you my invoice when you're successful. And I thought, oh, okay. Thought, it's weird. Anyway, and he would come and he'd start speaking to me, and I was thinking, oh, I just know all these things. Like, he was just opening up these, I was remembering a lot of information. But I then started, one day I remember I thought to myself, I don't have any idea what I'm doing here, and I can't do what I was doing previously, which was extremely driven, extremely, I knew everything. Oh, I just knew absolutely everything, guys. I was just like, just come and ask me and I'll tell you. That was just scraped out of me. And so I remember the day I just lay on my mattress and I just thought, right, I don't know anything. Again, those words, I don't know. And so deeply committed to being okay with that. And I just called out. I just said, well, what is it? What am I doing here? That was really, for me, an unbelievable awakening. Like, I started having one awakening after another. I was deeply, it was just such a deep process. And I would wake up at 3 a.m. and I would go and sit at my computer and I'd type these workshops that turned into workshops that were helping women with, incredible later, actually, obviously, pain, through, because of medical conditions. I wrote a book. I never published this particular book, but it was about anorexia and bulimia because I had been through that in my late teens and my recovery, and helping parents with children that were going through these issues. That was just, for me, that became my life. So a lot of the time I was on radio. I did a lot of things, and it was really just moving again in that same way. And I was invited to go to Melbourne University, speak to the students by the government and there were so many things that I did. It had nothing to do with beauty. My heart, here we go again, really, I would see anyone that needed help. And some people had no money. Seriously, we're talking about really serious issues. And I would just say to them, bring an envelope and put what you can in there, and I would help them. And but it was then the commitment became my internal, like, I like to use the word remembering, because I believe we all have this seed of direct knowledge inside of ourselves. I really do believe that. And I think we layer it, it's like this beautiful meaning. It's very much what you find in the group, Graham, in the guild, with Flint. It's got this beautiful, pure meaning that we all have that sits in us, and we layer it and layer it and layer it. And before we don't even know what we are anymore. So for me, that's been my whole life, really. It doesn't matter what I've done with True Brow. My whole internal focus is that, because of what I know, and I keep going back to that.
This is why I love working with Kevin Appleby. He might stay silent, but he then comes out with a question that gets you to talk for 5 minutes and reveal your inner self. But that's his skill. But you are quite, you've got so many things that you've achieved so many things in your life, and you're but 60. At the end of the day, you've then got maybe another, I don't know, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years that before you said, right, I've had enough, I'll just go and sit on the beach. What is it that you want to achieve between now and that point?
Well, I don't know that I see myself sitting on the beach, really.
No, that was only an example.
But I must say, I've lived in front of the ocean for like 10 years, and now the sea is just down the road. And I love sitting there for a little while, but I think that I move where I'm really called to go. And I think that humanitarian work is really right in front of me at the moment. And that's why 10 by 3, which is the charity that we're working with inside of the Guild, is something I'm looking forward to. But if someone said to me tomorrow, you'll have nothing to do for the rest of your life and you need to just stay at home and okay, I could do that. You know, like I don't plan, and I don't really feel like inside of me at this time in my life I have some mission or some purpose. I'm just really flowing. And I think that the more that we can do that, and trust in that, the more doors open, the more opportunities just arise, and you say yes or you say no, for whatever reason, and you just keep moving. We don't have to always know the future. We don't have to always, I mean, it's wonderful to plan. I'm not saying not to strategize, not to plan, because sometimes people can take that all the way together. But I think the core piece of this is that I really don't know, except that I know that because of how I move, it will always be to be of support or help to someone.
That's
That's it, really.
That's really special. I was going to say beautiful, but I mean that would have been too corny. But there's something of beauty about what you've just said, Al, because there's a sense of being able to flow through life, but in a way that you notice things around you, and that you've had several, almost like, what's it called? They're inflection points where things come along and you recognize that something's happened, something obvious at times, but something's happened. But you're seeing, if you like, the potential to help others, maybe to help others become more beautiful, whatever it is. But and 10 by 3 and all the rest of that, your involvement in that going forward is going to help a hell of a lot more people as well. And I'm just amazed and surprised that we've managed to snaffle one of the world's most beautiful women onto this show, who's made such an impression on lots of other women. But the one challenge that you are never going to get right is getting Kevin Appleby's eyebrows. I just don't. He's got his glasses. His glasses are hiding them. But Elle, you've been an absolutely wonderful guest on the Next 100 Days podcast. Thank you.
Graham, fascinating conversation. And what I'm taking away from that is not anything about beauty, not anything about mentoring. I'm taking away one word, and that's flow.
Yeah, it came up a bit, didn't it? It's almost like a Grace Kelly dress there's a slight breeze, and it's elegant. It's moving through life in a way that's in tune with life. And she seems in an industry, as she said, that parts of it are designed to almost enforce changes on people, which are not always to do with making you feel more harmonious with yourself or more beautiful in your own, skin. And for me, that's she's had a heck of a career, and it's not all been ups, has it? So she's had her challenges. So yeah, I think a genuinely beautiful woman.
Yeah, but think about that challenge in particular, where she changed direction from skincare into mentoring.
Yeah.
In a way, that was about getting out of her own way, forgetting the plans, forgetting the goals, and just letting whatever was supposed to happen. And I'm reflecting back on some of the more important moments that have influenced where I've got to today.
Yeah.
And probably none of them were planned. They just kind of happened.
I'll be honest with you, Kevin, right now, as we've mentioned a couple of times in recent podcasts, I've been thinking about retirement. Not that I want to retire particularly, I will do eventually, but then end of the day, it's the phase between earning money and saving, etc., for retirement, and then not earning money and spending what you've saved for the rest of your life. But it's not just about that. It's about having a plan to use your time. And there's all this thing about, how are you going to use your time? You don't want to just sit in front of the TV and all the rest of it. So the idea of having to plan, I'm more in the sort of flowy Grace Kelly dress, so to speak. I'm not going to wear a dress, but the point is the sort of almost allowing things to happen. And I've still got things in my head that I'd like to be able to do with the business that I've got. But at the same time, I'm almost training myself to try and plan a future that doesn't necessarily have as much business in it as
Yeah.
I'm
And
allowed to.
I interviewed a chap yesterday, Graham, on my other podcast, Grow CFO Show. He's a CEO of a fintech company.
Yeah.
And this isn't his first gig as a CEO. It's his third gig as a CEO.
Mhm.
And I said to him, well, hang on, you did the second one. You could quite easily have said, well, money doesn't really matter now.
Mm.
Why did you go and do the next one? And it was about, well, yeah, there was more to do. There was more to give.
And I think Elle brought that to our attention in a really gentle, flowy way. And I think there's a humor about her, but there's also a grace about the way in which she lives. And I think Greece suits her. I think it can, if you've been to Greece, if you've been on holiday there, etc. It's an amazing place. But the combination of Greece and Australia, that is quite a combination, Kevin. And we've had it on our podcast today, in which I've been Graham Arrowsmith.
I've been Kevin Appleby. Goodbye.
Goodbye.